Thank you for joining us this morning. Tomorrow is Independence Day. Nigeria will be 63 years. In spite of all the bad press that our enemies, in quotes, gave us, that we would break up by 2015 and all that kind of talk, Nigeria is still standing gidigba, as they say. Yes, we've had challenges. Which country doesn't have challenges? But we are still together. That is the most important part. The federal government has declared that celebrations will be low-key, as is expected, in the light of what we have gone through this year. This is September, and all kinds of things have happened to Nigerians. A fuel subsidy was removed, and we are still grappling with the effects of that policy. But Nigeria is still one, and whether we like it or not, we, fuddy-duddies, will have to move aside very soon and let the younger people take over. So, how are we going to empower the leaders of tomorrow? How are we preparing them to take over the mantle of power in Nigeria? That's what we're going to be looking at this morning, and it's my pleasure to welcome an elder statesman whom we haven't spoken to on this program for a long time. He hasn't graced our studio on Sunrise for a long time. Pa Ayo Adebanjo. Good morning, sir. Our studio on Sunrise for a long time. Pa Ayo Adebanjo. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Our studio on Sunrise for a long time.
Well, I think we
have a little technical issue.
We need to do some work on the audio. We'll definitely, get back to it. I think there is the questions are myriad. One of the, issues that I've often raised about Nigeria as an independent entity is, where are we going? Someone needs to, when we talk about leaders, leaders lead. That suggests that there is a trajectory. There's a direction to which we're all going. So there has to be a national ethos, and
a vision
that this is where we're going. So those of us who are being led, we're following in that
because we have bought into that vision, and we agree that the direction you say you're going to take us is one that we all agree with.
So, do we have it?
We have spoken about this so many times, Ayo, as you well know. But we still haven't got a vision yet.
We won't stop talking about it. Because
until somebody gives us one.
Until someone says, okay, I saw a movie, comical as it may be, they're a team. And the guy will say, okay, what's the plan? And no one was, okay, we just do this. Those are the processes, but what's the plan? Until he heard something like a plan, he couldn't move. Remember the former Minister of Solid Minerals, Kyle Defayemi, was saying, look, before I can do anything, I need to come up with a policy framework. Yeah. I can't just jump into work without understanding what the issues are and what I need to do. And so that is what he decided to focus on, come up with at least understand the terrain before I can plunge into work. That's the ideal thing. What is the national vision? You heard Minister of Works also saying we want to build a road, a super highway of whatever, I don't know the English word he used, that you will be able to drive to Abuja, Lagos, Abuja, 4 hours. That's vision. And I don't know, is it 4 hours he said? I'm not sure. So I don't know. Let's say if, Pa Adebanjo is...
drive to Abuja, Lagos, Abuja, 4 hours. 4 hours, you're not in Benin yet.
Not on these roads, please. We're talking about these current roads. So let's see if he's available now.
Pa Ayo Adebanjo, can you hear me, sir? Oh, we're still grappling with that audio problem.
Okay, well, can you hear me, Padiban? Can you hear us, sir? Okay. I'm very sure that we'll get back to that. Maybe we should take a short break. Perhaps even take that. Someone has proposed, by the way, that Timi Dakolo's song should
be our national anthem.
Be another national anthem song.
Well, we always say that on this program. Every time we play it, say, there goes our anthem again.
Yeah.
An alternate.
It's a very, very powerful and very catchy one.
It is.
You know, so let's see, you know, director, if we can, you know, either take that song again or take a short break to resolve those issues that we're having, and then we can talk to Adebanjo. We'll be right back in a moment. Well, thank you for joining us. We understand that Adebanjo is able to join us now. Thank you so much for joining us. So, can you hear us well? Can you hear us well, sir?
Okay, only one side I'm hearing, I don't say.
Well, at least...
And I've told your man here.
Well, we'll deal with that on the go. Just wanted to start the conversation with you. There is a report that I saw online, and a number of people were talking about where Nigeria went wrong, where we got it wrong. In order to empower the future, we need to know where we are coming from. So where would you say we misstepped that we need to correct before we can...
I say this thing is not clear yet.
Oh, okay. Let's deal with that very quickly then, sir, and then we'll get right back to you. Yeah. Can you hear us well? Is it better now?
No, the other, I'm hearing from one side of the air, not the other side.
Okay. But can you hear me clearly, sir?
I told you.
At least, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. We just wanted to find out from you if there is any way we have misstepped as a nation that we need to correct so that we can use that basis to build the future.
Has the interview started now?
Yes, sir. We are live.
You're live now?
Yes, sir.
Are you just testing? I'm on the air already.
Yes, you are on air, sir. We can hear you very well, and everyone can.
Well, okay. Well, come again about the question.
Yes, I said I saw a report online where some people were asking the question about Nigeria at 63, where we got it wrong, where we went wrong, where we misstepped. In order to ensure that we build a good future, we need to know where we got it wrong so that we don't repeat those mistakes and use the lessons to build a better future. In your own opinion, where do you think we may have gotten it wrong?
Thank you very much. You have got this wrong since the military took over. And we got it wrong when they went back to the barracks. They didn't go back with their luggage of the Constitution, which we didn't know about. They imposed the Constitution on us, which is the cause of the problem today. So to go back to where we are, we should change this Constitution. That's the bottom line of your problem. All the problem you are having is embedded in the fraudulent Constitution imposed on us by the military.
Sir, talking about where we dropped the ball and our life from independence up to now, teaching of history was actually taken out of the school curriculum for a while. I don't know if, because there was plenty of talk about it being brought back. I mean, if they say if we don't know where we're coming from, how can we plan where we're going? So if our children don't learn our history to be able to know at what point we drop the ball, how are they going to be able to plan for the future?
My dear, if you understand your question and my answer, I have given you the bottom line. I said the problem of the country is your constitution. And that if you change the constitution to where our founding fathers gave us, we won't get it right. Except you don't understand what you are talking about. Where did you get it wrong? You got it wrong because we are operating an unworkable constitution, which is made by the ministry, not our constitution. The question of our, see, except you don't know the problem of the country. You are talking to somebody who knows the beginning of the problem. Maybe that's why you don't understand.
Sir, why would you say that our constitution
where did you get it wrong? You got it wrong from the time the military education came in, and when they decided to go back to the barracks, they didn't go back, they didn't leave us with the constitution they met us. They left the baggage of the constitution, unworkable constitution, which they imposed on us. If you understand the problem of the country, that is embedded there. The question of running a unity form of government under a multinational nation is there. That's not what we inherited. So all the problems that's arising as a result of that is what you are having. As I said, if you understand what you are talking about, where did you get wrong? That is the basic thing. All of that things are all embedded there. When you talk of marginalization, Boko Haram and all that, they are all the results of the way the country is run. Your economy is based on the fact that the way the country is run. So if you understand what you are talking about, you know that that's the root cause. And I say change the constitution. If you change the constitution, the question of marginalization will be solved. If you change the constitution to where we started, where the founding fathers gave us, which is the 1960 constitution. So if you understand what I'm talking about, those are all the problems. The question of revenue education, the question of local government, the question of devolution of powers, which is all the root cause of this problem. That is the basic thing. Change this constitution to where we started, to where our founding fathers gave us. All the friction you are having now have been solved by independent constitution, which the ministry changed after they came into office.
But sir, changing a constitution is not an easy task. How would you advise us to go about that?
My dear, you don't know your problem. If that is the problem, you don't want to go back to it, then you don't understand it. If you understand what you are talking about, there was the 2014 Nancy Constitutional Conference. It's not a difficult thing, and people have been talking about it. If you believe you don't want to change it because of Jonathan, hold on. Get this thing clear. You are not talking to somebody who doesn't know what the problem of the countries are. Maybe you are not even born by the time. What I'm telling you is, the problem that we are having in this country today, either economic, political, or cultural, is based on the way we are running the country under a wrong constitution that was not embedded when we got our independence. Okay. We are talking about the problem since independence. Well, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay, for those who are not aware, or who do not know the difference between the contents of the 1963 Constitution and the one we've been using since, what are some of the salient differences that you think we should reincorporate?
Now, it's all right. The Constitution you are using now is a unitary Constitution. And you are having a multinational, multilingual, multicultural nation in the country. This country is not a nation. It's a geographical expression. The Yoruba is a nation, the Igbo is a nation, the Hausa, Fulani, the Ijaws, and others. And at the independence, our founding fathers found that after a crisis, we went to London Constitutional Conference. That is what we are talking about. Maybe because many of you don't know what is 1916 Constitution. 1916 Constitution is the Constitution that solves the problem of the friction that you are having now under a multinational, multilingual nation to have to live together. And that is what we call federal constitution. It is that constitution that gave autonomy to the regions. If you have heard of what Law did, what Okpara did, what Savannah did in the First Republic, that is a result of the constitution agreed to by the founding fathers. But unfortunately, by 1966, there was the military coup. After that coup, the people set aside that constitution and introduced the present constitution, which is unitary, one-line constitution. That's why we are now talking of devolution of powers, local government, all that is already solved under the constitution we had at independence. So the moment you set that aside, that's why we must have this problem. The question of revenue allocation, for instance, which the people of the South are agitating for, what you call resource control now is what we have already solved under the 1963 Constitution by derivation. That one was solved in the London Constitutional Conference 1954 and was embedded in the Constitution that your revenue will be based on your way, and you will only pay percentage of the revenue to the federal government. Not that the federal government will take your revenue and give you a dole. Under the constitution we had, there was no question of the state going to Abuja for monetary allocation.
Well, there's also this vexed issue. Yes, that's understood, sir. But, you know, there's also this vexed issue. A number of people often contend that, look, maybe we also have a problem of national vision, because having spoken to one or two elder statesmen before, asking them whether or not, you know, what the national vision was before independence, a good number, vision, the vision for the nation was. So, in your opinion, do you think Nigeria had a national vision?
I didn't get that question.
Can you hear me now, sir?
What was the question?
So the question is, don't you think we have a problem of the absence of a national vision? Because there are those who wonder whether or not there was a vision for the nation at independence or before independence.
That shows how ignorant you yourself you are. Well, you have not studied the constitution of the country and the history of the country. If you are going to tell you that that's the background of the constitution, there was a crisis in the country. Don't forget that it was the colonialists who amalgamated this country. The amalgamation of the North and the South in 1914 that brought us together. We are not the colonialists colonized Nigeria. They colonized the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Hausas separately. It was in 1914 they brought all these people together. And they were giving us various forms of government until 1952, 51. But when we are going to get independence, there was the warning by Chief Awolowo at that time that, well, you cannot rule this country under a unitary form of government. As a result, there was a crisis in the Federal House of Representatives in 1953, when Chief Anthony Enaro moved a motion for self-government. And the law said they didn't want it. That's why I say we must have this background knowledge of the Constitution. There was crisis. Then the colonial office sent for the leaders of the nation, Dr. Azikwe, Nnamdi Azikwe, Sardauna Sokoto, and Chief Obafemi from the West. We all went to London Constitutional Conference to draft a new constitution that will befit the heterogeneous nature of the country. That's why I said that is the beginning of our problem. We had this problem of disunity, disagreement, because of the unity form of government the colonialists were using. But when we reverted to federalism after the London Constitutional Conference in 1953, which came into office in 1954, before then, there was no question of premiership. Because it was unitary, it was neither of government business in each region, the East, the West, and the North. But under that Constitutional Conference, the country was based on the federal system, whereby in each region you have a premier, and they are autonomous. Autonomous in the sense that each federating unit is coordinated with the federal government, not subordinate as it is now. The Constitution defines the functions of the state and the function of the federal. And you are autonomous in education, all that makes a government. But because we want to remain together, we assign some subjects to the federal government, like railway, airways, shipping, currency, and all that bind us together, so that we can grow as a big country.
It's interesting.
So that's what was going on.
Yes. My apologies. Yeah, my apologies. It's interesting that you mentioned Chief Anthony Enahoro, because I remember in my, one of these episodes of Independence Anniversary, not on this platform at the time, that I asked him, what was the national vision at independence? I asked him, I said, what was it that you had in mind? Just a second, sir. What was it that you had in mind when you were asking for the independence of Nigeria, when you were moving the motion for the independence of Nigeria? The only thing he told me at the time, and told my audience at the time, was that there was no, they just wanted the colonialists to go, that there was no national vision. That is why I'm asking you if there was such a thing. Okay, good. So tell us what that vision was.
There was a vision. The political parties had a program. You people go and study your history. That is why you don't get it right. How can you say people like Awolowo and Azikwe and Sardauna had no vision? We had a vision that we could do better than the colonialists. And when we are going to have independence, each political party drew up a manifesto. That was the manifesto Chief drew, to say that if you have independence, there will be free education, free medical services, integrated rural development, and full employment. All the problems they are solving now, as going to add his own program. Sardauna to add his own program. It was on that program we contested the election. And then the election was done then. And there was an alliance between the SNC and the NPC that formed the federal government under a unity form of government. But when this constitution was broken down in 1952, and then there was the Manifestos was broken, there was a validity constitution. It is that constitution that we had until you have independence, that gave autonomy to the regions. It created more states that we are agitating for now. So that is the vision.
Okay.
Well, the vision to develop the country under a federal system. Well, where the federating units.
Yeah. Okay.
What is it?
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, that is given. I mean, you talked about the visions of each of the regions and hoping that at some point the three of them would be able to come together and agree for the unity of the nation. But now...
No, that's some time. No.
Okay.
You people, not after some time. That is the basis of remaining together at independence. That was what is resolved at independence.
So the vision was
and they defined their functions.
The vision was for each of the regions to remain autonomous and contribute to a national development.
Yes.
Okay. But now that we have this, and you are saying that this is the bedrock of whatever challenges we've been having as a nation, how do we communicate this? I said, now that you said that that is the basis of the debacle that the nation is facing, how do we cross that Rubicon and hand over a legacy to the next generation, the younger generation, to achieve the vision of the heroes past?
I'm sorry to say it doesn't appear you, so you understand what you are talking about. I've told you the background. I told you how we have independence. I've told you how that the constitution was changed. That is why we're having this problem. And I say, go back to that constitution where there's autonomy among the federated states. We are running a government now under a unity form of government, which is not suitable for our society.
But you know, sir,
have you been reading that from Babalola?
I understand you, sir, but you know that the political climate of that time is completely different from now. The political class of that time was far more visionary than the ones that we have now. A number of people will hold that opinion. That's why I'm asking, how do we gravitate to this future that you are recommending?
My dear, it is the same. When you don't understand this, it's difficult to explain to you. They are not different. It is the position of an unworkable constitution, if you understand that. The British introduced a unity constitution which the colonial was using for us that caused crisis. It is that crisis that led to making the constitution federal after going to London Constitutional Conference in 1953. It is on that our Greek constitution that independence was granted to us to develop according to our own space. That is the essence of federalism, that each federative unit will develop at its own space. And we started that in 1960. We were doing that from January 1960 to 1966.
Yeah.
When the military came in and set that constitution aside. That is how we have been going on. The question of derivation, even when oil was founded, was based on derivation. The revenue that comes from your place, you keep it and give a percentage to the federal. Those are all the things in the constitution. But by the time you set that one aside, then you have the Igbesu, you have the agitation for separation, because you are bundling every autonomy of the region together. You have the police, the governor of a state has no control over the security. Those are all the evils under this constitution. Those are all the evils that were settled under a federal system. Those are the things you will solve if you go back to federalism and you move on. Until you do that, you can't get it straight. That's what I tell you. If you study the Constitution, you know where we are coming from, which I told you. We are coming from a federal constitution at independence, was changed in 1966 by the military, and that's why we have this problem. Summary. If you want to solve the problem now, where do we move forward? Go back to the constitution that brought us together. On the other hand, we have peace. Then we can move forward. Until you do that, no matter what you do, you'll be falling from one crisis to the other.
Okay. So, sir, you are advocating that the Constitution be changed. And the suggestion is that once that is changed and it looked more like the 1963 Constitution, then Nigeria will be put on the right path.
Exactly. If you don't understand, go and read what Adebanjo has been talking about.
All right.
That's what you call restructuring.
Okay.
That's what Adebanjo says, restructure use another word for, or you rearrange the country, but unity constitution does not befit a country of Nigeria that consists of several nationalities. Somebody.
Thank you very much, sir. Elder Statesman, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation in just a moment. Do stay with us.